Hey guys, thanks for being here today. I am Marie Spalding with Living Felt. You have stumbled upon our Woolly Wednesday broadcast. We are needle felting mushrooms. This is part one. We are going to do a little show and tell. This is my fairy house, needle felted mushroom. I'm going to show you that. And then today we're just going to build the underbodies of our mushrooms and then we'll finish them next week. So I hope you'll stay tuned. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And I hope you'll join our group, Living Felt Friends, and share what you're working on. I'll see you there.
Hi y'all, I'm Hannah.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ann.
Hi, I'm Marie, and we are coming to you live from Austin, Texas, because it's Happy Woolly Wednesday! Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. We hope it's beautiful wherever you are in the world. It is a muggy, hot day here in Central Texas. We're glad to have AC, that's for sure, and we have a fun day for our show, but what have you gals been up to anyway?
Right now I'm actually just catching up on rolling MC1. if I knew the number of rolls of MC1 I've rolled, I'd probably fall over.
What am I doing? I am making wet felting tool bundles because you guys must have been inspired from the last few Woolly Wednesdays.
So nice. It's fun to have all the goods you need.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Ann?
I've been packing a lot of orders today.
No, very nice, very nice. I've just been running hither and thither, and really, that's about all. I just wanted to say hither and thither. Hey guys, we have a great show planned. I'm so glad you're here, so we're going to just jump right in and get started. Everyone, if you are joining us for the first time, welcome to Woolly Wednesday. We are Living Felt based here in Central Texas, but you know what? We have friends all over the world. You probably see them saying hi now and where they're from, and I hope you'll do the same. If you are watching us live, welcome to the live show. You can hit that bell right up on top and get notified every time we go live. If you're watching the YouTube back, thank you for being here. We hope you'll subscribe to our channel. We have lots of videos. Our YouTube channel is broken up into playlists. You can see wet felting tutorials, needle felting tutorials, and our Woolly Wednesday live show in its entirety. Sometimes we upload that to the individual channels if we don't get a mini version loaded. But I hope you'll check out some of those free tutorials there. And for those of you who don't know us, we are a fiber supplier, we're a manufacturer and a retailer. We have a great big shop. Online, you can shop with us, and we even have a store right here in Texas. You can come visit us. We're moving that soon, and I know that a lot of people are waiting for information on that, and we're just going to have to wait a little bit longer, and we'll tell you everything when we can tell you. So I'm going to scroll here and see who I can say hi to. Who do we got with us today, Ann?
Well, we have Kathleen Perry in Texas.
Hi, Kathleen. She's right up the road. She's been here for workshops and such. What else do we got?
We have Clarice in Scotland.
Hi, Clarice. Hi, who else is here?
We've got Susan in Tennessee, Linda in Michigan, Pam in Michigan.
Oh, neat. It's probably pretty, is it still cold in Michigan? It's been like wacky weather. Hey guys, let me tell you what we're doing today. We are needle felting mushrooms, and if you saw the title of the show, I called it Naked Mushrooms, and there's a reason for that. So today is needle felting naked mushrooms. We have a little bit of show and tells. And first I want to do a quick shout out to the folks at Fiber Art Now. They recently, y'all might remember, we were asking for submissions for their exhibit that was really dedicated to felt. And I was very privileged to be a juror in this year's exhibit, and wow, I want to tell you, there were almost 400 works of art submitted, and I was just blown away by the pieces that we were viewing, and there were many more than they could put in the magazine. I think there's just under 30 that they could fit into the magazine. So I want to tell you, first of all, follow Fiber Art Now on Facebook. I want to say thank you to Marcia Young and her team for featuring felt and really bringing felt making, and that includes wet felting, needle felting, and nano-felting to the forefront of fiber arts. We really are grateful for that acknowledgement and that encouragement for so many people in the community who have really been working and honing their skills. So it was just such a privilege to judge, and I want you to know that you can subscribe to the magazine. It's going to be a brilliant issue. And did you post a link? Anne's posting a link to the magazine now, and you can get a copy, order a copy, subscribe to the magazine. I don't know if you can just buy one copy, but I really want to encourage you to get the magazine and watch for some of our friends that are posting that they've been accepted, because they've all been given the okay to make that announcement. So 2 people in our community have already posted, and I'll just let more come along and we'll share as we can. But anyway, I just want to say congratulations to everybody who participated. Beautiful works of art. Thank you, Fiber Art Now, and everybody. I hope that you get that issue of that magazine or more, so you can take it all in, because it's amazing. Now listen, one of the things we want to do today, besides naked mushrooms, is I've invited some of my favorite people in the world to do show and tells. They've not been felting all that long, but they are learning and stretching and growing and expanding their knowledge, and they don't really share all that much because they're usually pick-packing your orders and helping you. So who's going to go first? Okay, so the very first one, so I called this Fairy Felt Show and Tell, and so I've invited the fairies who are working today to show and tell some of their works of art, and the very first one you will see is Miss Hannah. Yay!
Thank you. Hey everybody, how are y'all doing? Hope you're having a great day. So this is something I kind of came up with after, if y'all have been here for about 6 months or so, we did a wet felted beachscape, which was inside the resist that was the heart, and that inspired me to just kind of go a little crazy with textures. So my intentions were for it to look like a stone wall with a vine going up it and flowers. It didn't turn out exactly how I planned, but I still really love it. It just inspires me to keep going and do even more. So you'll see that I've got quite a few balls in here, and those are all done with the merino short fiber bats. And then I do have some sari silk hidden in there that I honestly wanted to come out a little more, but I tend to cover my silk up too much. I'm learning my lessons. And then you'll also see there's some neps in here. There's also some hankies all covering the rocks and stuff. But yeah, it's my little doodah.
It's beautiful, Hannah. Yay, Hannah!
Thank you. And next, I think we'll have Miss Holly come show y'all what she's created. Thank y'all so much.
Yay!
Okay, so I'm new at this, and this is my first completed project. I have a lot in the works, but I have a son graduating this Friday, so I just made a banner using the felt sheets, and this is Bordeaux, and then the MC1 batting for my numbers and my tiger paws. And then I also have, I cut little like 1/8 inch strips of the felt sheets, and I just swirled them around in little swirls just because, you know, I like lots of tchotchke type things on my stuff. And also little strips on the top just to make it kind of look sporty. And like I said, I'm still kind of new at this, so if I can do it, you can do it. And I think it's time to see Anne's beautiful creation now.
Yay! Thanks, Holly. Good job.
Hi friends, thank you so much for being here with us today. I want to show the scarf that I made. I'll take it off so I can show it a little bit better. This is just a cobweb style scarf that I made with Pueblo merino silk blends. We've got some sari silk waist and saffron. This is a pumpkin silk hankies with some spice merino silk over top. It's pretty long. I like a long scarf with some little fringe at the end. I learned how to do this from our felting a cobweb scarf tutorial up on our YouTube channel. So definitely check it out. It was so much fun. It was just great.
That is awesome. Thank you, gals. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm glad they all brought in show and tells. Weren't they great? And they were all used different techniques. Now, Hannah's weighs a ton. We think it weighs like a pound. That thing is so dense. 1 pound, 4 ounces. It's still drying. It's so awesome. And it just warms my heart so much when they come back from a weekend and say they felt it all day the day before, or something that they worked on. And I know that helps them help you when you call. So I wanted you to see what they're up to, and that's just in their free time, just something they're doing just for their own fun and enjoyment. So super cool for me to see. So today we are needle felting mushrooms, and I would like to, we're going to turn down the camera. For those of you who don't know, the show's different every week. Sometimes we have a guest, sometimes we do a tutorial, sometimes it's a really orchestrated tutorial, and sometimes it's more like a felting circle, a crafting circle, where we just kind of work through something together more in real time. And today we are starting needle felting mushrooms. I plan for us to pick that up next week, but what I'd like to do is a quick show and tell of my large mushroom fairy garden. We're going to bring that in a little bit close for you to see, and then the ones we're going to make today are actually much smaller. So I'm going to bring that over, and then we're going to turn down the camera a little bit so that we can get a little more intimate with it. I'm sure that the girls are going to love reading all of your feedbacks on their pieces. And I'm going to just pause here for a second while we bring the cameras down. Oh, cool. All right. Thank you for being here, everyone. So Anna's our producer, and she's going to occasionally read me your comments or read us your questions. We invite you to ask questions whenever you like during the broadcast. Sometimes we group them together so we can answer them in a cluster, as long as they're sort of pertaining to the topic, and we can't answer all of them. So if what your question is super important, you can call us on our toll-free number. It's at the top of our website. You can also email us, but a great way to reach us is on the contact page on our website. You just scroll all the way to the bottom and see that, and that way we can keep track of our communication with you. So this is my little fairy house, and it is needle felted core wool. This is our CW1 core wool, and almost everything else is our MC1 batting. This actually is hollow inside, and that was probably the biggest challenge. Oh, look, Anne, what I found. We've been looking all over for this thing today. This piece is hollow inside, and I just did that over a piece of foam that I cut into a little rectangle and then had to peel it out of there. And so it's mostly hollow. And this was, I think, our grape or blueberry, but this little guy sat in a wagon on our porch here at Living Felt for over a year. And so that's what it looks like when the sun fades it. It didn't get rained on, it just got sun faded. And so it is hollow, the door doesn't open, but I've built up these little stones here a little bit and made a little pond, just kind of like a little play mat. And then somebody made this little fairy mailbox for me to add to it, and gave us these little things. So I wanted to show this as an example of a big mushroom you could make. This is maybe a super tiny little mushroom world you could make. We made this in a bur oak acorn cap, and it's just a little dinky version. And this is kind of me, this is me. I mean, I can be like brown and green, but like all this multiple colory, textury stuff is just some of my favorite. Now we have a free video for making little mushrooms like this and more pointy caps. So we're gonna look a little bit at some of those methods today. But today our goal is to make naked mushrooms, and this is an example of a naked mushroom. So these are just a few sizes, but we're gonna make a naked mushroom, and the reason is I really want to encourage everybody to just slow down a little bit, focus on making a good piece of felt, and learn what that feels like, learn what that looks like, and not to rush to just get something online and post a picture, but to just enjoy the process. So we're gonna look real quickly at our supplies for today. We doing okay, Ann? And Ann's gonna guide me to stop or slow down and talk. So we're using our core wool, and we sell our core wool in 2 different formats. You can get it in a great big batting, great for quick layout of pictures, or if you like to control the width of when you pull the wool off, and this is an 8-ounce bundle. We sell it in 8 ounces or more, and we have a discount for 6, so basically 3 pounds for 6 of these. Or we sell it in a roving form, and I'm going to be working with that today. And the roving form comes in this stuff bag so that you can just kind of reel it out and work with it. And I'm going to bring the recorded camera in a little bit, and so my head's not just cut off. Look at my hands. Okay, and I just brought some little pieces here. So this is the roving. This is what it looks like when you get it out of the bag, and usually it's just in more of a continuous length, but I just grab a bunch of scraps for my own stash here. So I'm going to be working with this core wool and some of our MC1 batting. So let me show you that. MC1 batting, we sell it in 2-ounce bundles. We sell it, and higher. You can buy 2 ounces, you can buy 4 ounces or whatever. This is one of our studio packs. This one is called Spring Meadow. We have a whole bunch of them you can choose from. And we also have a goodie bag of 12 colors. And that's kind of what I was encouraging for this project, is maybe a goodie bag so that you had a nice variety, and then whatever else bling fibers that you like. The other things we're working with are some chenille stems, just regular pipe cleaners. We sell these in the shop. And for my foam today, we like to use a needle felting foam. This is our 18 by 24. I know it may not quite fit in your frame. This is our 18 by 24, and I often use that on the show. And then this is William, a little sheepy bowl. I made another miniature world in him. These bowls are made for us by Joanne Straticos out of Mudworks, PA in Pennsylvania. And we sell these too. So if you want to make a fun little world, you can get yourself one of these guys. All right, that's enough of all that stuff. So now you know what I'm working with, and let's make a naked mushroom. What I'd like to do is encourage everyone to make a mushroom or 2 or 3 before we get together next time, and use it as a lesson. Use it to refine your skills. Use it so that just something that's, I want to say, just for you, and not a rush to post something finished on the internet. And just take your time so that you make it in a way you really, really like it. And what we want to do today is make a nice firm mushroom, and then next time we'll look at a variety of ways you might decorate the cap. And maybe some of you will just go on to finish them, but for those of you who want to, build a bunch of bases, you'll be right on time for decorating next time. Okay, how we doing, Ann?
We're doing good.
Okay. As usual, I'll be talking nonstop for 10 minutes, so I'll slow down a little bit. This is just a little collection of MC1. Save all your scraps. MC1 is our signature batting. Save all your scraps because, man, they're so great for little projects like this. And I'm going to be using a chenille stem to make a mushroom about like this. Hey, you guys, here, someone's here. Come here. You have to come.
No.
My husband just showed up, and he never comes during Woolly Wednesday. Come here, Rodney Jean.
I'm doing.
You have to come.
Doing.
He's refusing.
Other stuff out here. I have to go back.
We're live here.
Howdy, everybody. Love y'all. Thanks for joining us.
That's my beautiful husband.
Alrighty then.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you. Okay, so this is a chenille stem, and I like to use a chenille stem so that I have a solid core I could needle felt towards. In this case, I'm going to bend it not quite in half because I want it to be a little bit taller, and you'll see why. So I'm just going to twist it in half, and if you leave a little hook here, then we can, a little open space, then we're going to connect our wool right in there. So when you get your roving, my encouragement is that if you want to make your sculptures really firm and really dense, break this down into smaller increments. The first thing you can do is split the width, and you can split the thickness. How are we doing, Ann? Just interrupt me anytime.
We're doing good. Patricia asks, what's the difference between short fiber bats and MC1?
Oh, okay. So someone asked, what's the difference between our merino short fiber bats and our MC1? About 6 microns and a variety in breed. So they're both a batting. Our MC1 batting is the stuff that you often see us needle felting with. We make these bats in large 1 pound increments, and it's a big uniform lofty bat. It's a very crimpy fiber. It's about 25 microns, and it needle felts really well, densely and smoothly. And it is a domestic fiber right here in the USA. It's not carbonized, which means we don't treat it with any harsh chemicals. We wash it in a bio-friendly process, and it's really great for wet felting and needle felting. Merino short fiber bats are Australian merino 100%. They are a short fiber, but they're about 19 microns. They're very slick. You can needle felt with them, but I would only use them more for like a surface design and not for building up a lot of bulk, because they're super fine and kind of fussy to needle felt, but they are dreamy to wet felt with or needle felt tiny details. Like Danny Ives uses them a lot in her sculptures. Yep. Okay, here's how we're going to build this mushroom, and I'm going to get started right now. I've got a little hook here in my armature. You can use thicker wire if you're making a bigger mushroom. You don't have to use a wire, but I like it because it gives me a core to work towards. And the first thing I'm going to do is hook it onto my armature just like that. Now you can twist your armature, and this is how I twist my armature. Whether you're right-handed or left-handed, doesn't matter. My dominant hand holds and twists. I do that no matter what the wire is that I'm using. For the moment, I'm going to leave this part pokey, but we're going to turn it in. You always want to turn them in, or else they're going to poke out back through your wool. So we're going to start wrapping our armature, and you want to wrap it really tight. Now we do have a video online which shows how to wrap a tight armature, how to make nice firm sculptures. And that has been really popular on our YouTube channel. This is what we're doing. And what I'm doing is keeping the air out by holding a lot of tension as I twist. The more tension you hold, the tighter a wrap you get, the less you have to needle felt. When you're first needle felting, one of the things we get asked a lot is whether we break a lot of needles on the wire. And if you're banging right into the wire, and depending on how thick the wire is, you might. But if you build up a little bulk first, then you don't have to needle felt so much towards the wire. So now, once you decide how long you want your mushroom to be, then you can turn up that little tail end right there and just get all pokey ends going back inside. And that way they won't poke out of the wool. Yes.
And Rose asks, can you make the mushroom without the pipe cleaner, or do you have to use it?
You can make it without, but what happens is you sort of make this long snake, and then you're needle felting into the foam, usually poking all the way through. You could also use a skewer or something that you then take out, but this is a way that helps you have something that already has density and mass to needle felt towards the middle. So I would say do both and see which one is easier and which one gives you the result that you're wanting. So, all I did was flip this over, and I'm continuing to wrap. Now notice that I'm wrapping tight. I'm not letting this get any twist in it, and I am just continuing to wrap. The batting will grab onto itself. If you're working with roving or something, or a top, like a merino top, where all the fibers are going in the same direction, that's gonna be a little more difficult, but the batting will really grab onto itself. So keep the tension so that you keep the air out and make it as uniform as possible.
Devin asks, with your left hand, when you're twisting, are you holding just the wool or the project with the wire?
Oh, that's a great. Sometimes I'm doing just this, like what you're asking is as I work, when I go to twist with this hand, I'm pinching it with my fingers, but then I let go. You see that shows? Yeah. My goal is to control the fiber. That's why you break it down into such a thin increment. If you break it down into such a small increment, meaning width and thickness, then you can really control how it goes on. And this is fairly firm. This is about as firm, as the palm of my thumb of my palm, whatever. Okay, for those who are brand new, a collection of needles. We often get asked about our needles. Today I'm working with a 32 triangle, which is our blue. It's our coarsest needle. A 36 triangle, which is the next coarsest. I have a 38 spiral and a 36 star. Those are both medium but pretty aggressive needles. They have different actions. Just play with them and see how they feel. And then these are 4 42 triangles banded together. I like to use this not just as a finishing tool, but as a compression sculpting tool. So the reason we start with a really coarse needle is it's going to really push more wool in, and in an aggressive way. It's going to leave big needle marks, so you want to use it on the insides instead of the outsides unless you're trying to make a great big deep hole. Now notice my angle. For those who are brand new, and if Jen Trelor in Santa Barbara is watching, I want to say hi and a shout out to you. She may be watching the playback, but she's brand new. And when you're brand new, all of the needles can be a little confusing. So notice that what I'm doing is needle felting towards the center. I'm not needle felting all the way through. You don't hear me hitting the foam in any way. And I'm needle felting at an angle. And that's just so I don't needle felt right into the wire. If you hit the wire, your needle will bend. If it gets a bow in it, it's eventually going to break. And trying to dig a needle out of a piece is really difficult to do. Or needle tip, I should say. So when you're building this base, what you want to do is go around and just sculpt the whole length of it. Each time you finish a length of fiber, go ahead and needle felt that whole length. How are we doing, Ann?
I'm doing good. Rose asks, what would the star versus the triangle needle do?
The star versus the triangle, let's say, versus the spiral. So a star has more barbs on it and technically would push more wool, but this is a more aggressive needle. So we do call these, like the 36 and the 32 triangle, these two needles are really good for building a firm foundation or making big needle marks in something, a hole, a line, something like that. A 38 star is going to be more aggressive than a 38 triangle. So we look at the number and the shape as well. And the spiral is a more recent invention, and it is meant to push like as much wool as a star, but to leave less of a mark. That's how it was designed. Okay, so what I like to do, if you want to build a firm sculpture, if you want to build a firm shape, then keep it firm the whole way. It's much more difficult to go from something that is big, and I call it gassy, just a bunch of loose wool rolled on there. It's big and airy. It's going to take forever to get that wool to compress down to this. But if you start with your piece really firm, then it's a lot easier to build up onto that firm foundation. So then you've got to keep your rolls just as controlled. That means you keep working with thin amounts of wool. And I promise you it will take less time than piling on a bunch of wool and trying to get it firm. So your goal this week should be to figure out, the mushroom shapes. Like, what are you going to do with your mushroom? And I'm going to start this right here. When you start with a new piece, then get that piece anchored before you go on, and needle felt that little loose flange down, and then start to build up your shape. So think what your mushrooms are going to be for. Maybe you're going to mount it on a wood disc or in the little, jar lid like we did last time. Maybe you want to make a little brooch. Maybe it's an adornment on something else. But think about your mushroom shapes, and it doesn't matter what size they are. I pretty much build them the same way. I'm still twisting, and I'm twisting with a lot of tension, keeping the air out. What do you got, Ann?
Laura says, I have a wooden holder for 6 needles. It won't even go into the wool. What size needle would be best for that?
Okay, so Laura's asking about what we call a multi-needle tool. And she says she has a 6 needle tool that doesn't go into the wool. What happens is, and it's the reason I brought this little 4 needle tool, if your needles are too aggressive, like they're really coarse, and you bunch them all together and you're trying to use them on a small space, they actually pull the wool. There's too much surface tension, so the wool can't go down because all of those needles are like grabbing onto it. You think it would push them all in, but there's too much surface tension. So you can back up the grade and use a finer needle. Try a 40 triangle or a 42 triangle, and that would work on a much bigger piece. Like a big wall hanging, you could bang out with that big 6 needle tool. You won't get too far with it, you'll just get your initial compression with it. But if you are trying to do something smaller, then you would do better to work with a smaller needle and maybe even fewer of them. Okay, so this looks pretty rough right now, but that's not what I'm worried about. In the beginning, you're just building up a shape. And just remember, each time you get to the end of a piece, before you let go, needle felt it down. And now we have a lot of bulk on our little mushroom, and I can start to think about what I want that shape to be. I want to show you how I get the bottom like this and flat, how I get it to have, more bulk there, and how I get it flat. Because now's about the time I start to do it. I find where's that end of my wire, and I'm just going to needle felt in there just a little bit so I kind of know where my end is. And you're going to anchor all of this down. I'm still using my 36 triangle. Play with the 32 and the 36 when you're building your under shroom, your mushroom bones. Play with those and don't worry about it looking uneven at this stage. It's more meaning lumpy. Holes. Don't worry about that just yet. It's more important that you get all of the wool evenly laid on and evenly compressed. Now, if this feels too slow, working with 1 needle, you can try working with 2 of the same gauge, but you can also try this little tool. I learned this as a finishing tool from my friend Jennifer Field, but I like to use it as a compression tool as well. So this is 4 42 triangles just rubber banded together, and what's nice is that the needle tips are so close together, and what happens is you can do a real even compression. And notice I'm holding my piece down. It's not sitting up in the air. I don't have some squishy foam that just goes away as soon as I press on it. The foam is really, really firm. And that means I can push into my piece and keep it stable while I needle felt. I needle felt on the horizon, and for you all, that would be right here. That means that as I'm needle felting, I'm looking at what does this fiber look like right here, and I use the foam as a backdrop so I can see what's the condition of the felt. So from my view, I'm kind of needle felting right here, and that's what you see me looking at all the time, is I'm needle felting right there. Does that show? Kind of get what I'm saying? Because I'm not going at it this way. I can see more what's happening on the horizon. I can see that this is loose and this is getting more firm. And all I'm trying to do is get all loose bits down. So take your time on each layer and get that wool compressed. If you want something firm or fairly firm or even medium firm. Because loosey-goosey is easy to get. But what you want is when somebody picks up your piece that it all stays together and you're not panicking that they're handling it too roughly.
And Lois asks, by using tension when you're adding the layers of wool, does that help with the poking so you don't have to poke as much?
Exactly, Lois. Lois says, if I'm holding tension to the fiber as I'm wrapping the layers, does that reduce the amount I have to poke it? Yes, because think of what you're doing when you're poking. When you're poking, every time you poke, these needles have one-way barbs on them, just like the wool, and it's entangling the fibers. The closer they are together to begin with, the less you have to poke to get them to entangle. If there's a whole bunch of space between them, it takes a lot more effort. And your piece also starts to look like lumpy mashed potatoes because you have so much air to push through, and each time you push your needle in, you have a big indent and a big pile and a big indent and a big pile. So it will reduce the amount that you have to needle felt. Yes. Okay, so let's build up the base, and then I'm going to show you at least how I built this ball and some things to work on as you start to maybe make a few under shrooms of your own.
And Kate asks about how much wool would we need for a project about that size?
Oh, I haven't even weighed it. Let me see. What's this? This one weighs. Let's see if I can even get a weight on it. I should have weighed it before I came. It's not even moving the needle, so this is probably, I don't know, half ounce. Maybe this might be a half ounce mushroom. So not much, that's for sure. Okay, to build up the base and to make it flat, it doesn't really take much effort. We start again, this is my bottom. I start again with my wool right here and always anchor it down before you get started. And oh, by the way, for those who are new, don't worry about the vegetable matter in the fiber. I mentioned we don't carbonize our wool. That's our CW1, our PFX, or our MC1, the fiber that we make at Living Felt. We don't carbonize it, which means we don't treat it with chemicals that burn out that vegetable matter. Just leave it in there until you get to the surface layer, and if you're fussy on the surface layer, then take it out then. But otherwise, it doesn't cause any problems. Here's what I do. I'm gonna build that up just like you would think, just with multiple rolls, and start to stack that. I'm gonna let it taper up here a little bit, tape it up here a little bit, but just build more of that girth along the bottom, and then bring it back up. Now when I start to see it's kind of like I want, I'm going to go up the rest of the way, and then we're going to needle felt right here into the base. So that's all I want you to do. Still keep the tension in it, build up just more girth right there where you want it. But notice how easy it is to work with these long strips. It really is. It's like kind of the way to go. Now don't pile on more than you can needle felt at a time, and how you gauge that really is kind of like how long the barbs are on your needles. You really want to use all of the barb, but if you pile on 3 inches of fiber, your needle doesn't have that much of a barb surface to drive through.
So Kristen asks, so it should be like a bagel type consistency instead of lumpy mashed potatoes.
That's a good way to think of it. Kind of like a bagel. We do have a firmness video out there. It's called Patience. It's probably from, I don't know, 2009 or 10 or something like that. So we have one that we talk a little bit about firmness. Okay, now notice this is all loose down here, and this is even kind of sticking off the end a little bit. That's what I like. I like it to stick off the end a little bit, because now I'm just going to go right into that and start making like a little shelf. So I bring that back up to basically level, just needle felting lightly into it. And now I'm going to firm all this up right here. And notice as you needle felt, like notice this angle that I'm going. I'm going at an angle like this. I'm not even necessarily going straight in. When you go up into a piece like this, you're also strengthening it. You're strengthening its stability up and down when you needle felt up and down and not just straight in. If you've ever made a noodle, like let's say if you're not using an armature, if you're using something that doesn't have an armature and you only needle felt straight in, you wonder why sometimes it's still floppy. Then go up and down the length when you needle felt, so that you're also entangling the fibers up and down and not just straight across. That will help build the strength. Questions?
So just for folks, when you needle felt at the bottom there, that was only the second time needles had ever touched the bottom, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, because it was just too pointy first. Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll bend that little tip in, and you can even make this part arch in a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit cupped. It can be a little bit cupped, and that it just helps it stand, because if it's bowed, if the bottom is bowed instead of cupped, it never wants to stand. It's like a weeble. So you would rather have the bottom just a little bit cupped rather than bowed. That's why I'll let the end stick out a little bit. So look, this part is mellow. When you are feeling not super inspired, when you are feeling like maybe you don't have hordes of creativity, or you just need some downtime or creative time, meaning like just creative space and not, you're not feeling intensely creative, that's a great time to build these under shapes. And take your time with them so that they're really serving the purpose of whatever it is you're going to be making. Okay. I'm going to go back to this little tool here. And this, I just like it as an overall firming tool. Now, we do have a 5 needle clover tool. It is very clacky. It holds 5 needles. But its action is not quite as driving as I'm doing. It's real a springy tool, and you're going to have a lot more control in needle felting something if you can have that driving action like this. So these are the tools I would use. We have about 10 sizes of needles available. For this project, I would recommend at least one of the coarse needles, the 36 or 32, at least 1 or 2 of the workhorse needles, the 38s, and I would use a 38 star or 38 spiral, and then definitely fine needles, because you're going to want fine needles when we get to the surface also. So play with your needles and see how you like them. I'm going to do a little bit more here. On my own, I'm going to keep needle felting this so that I get all of this really nice and compact. But let's look at making the top. There's a few ways you can make the top. You can make the top just like we made the bottom. And if you watch this little video we have on YouTube for making these tiny mushrooms, all I do is keep wrapping the wool around and around and around and make that shape. But it usually ends up being more squishy because you kind of want to hurry, you know, and you don't have the patience to make each one super, super tight, and you may not want it to be firm anyway. But I want to show you another way. You can watch that video, or you can try a method like this. And on this method, I'm going to bring a little more fiber in. And what we're going to do is just needle felt a little half dome. And if you're new, this is how you needle felt a ball. We have a basic shapes video out there somewhere on our needle felting playlist. So I'm not making this incredibly dense. I'm just kind of making a ball shape. I'm not trying to make it rock hard. And I'm going to see about what size do I want it. Because the reason I'm not making it incredibly hard is, one, this is like my test roll. What size do I want? How much wool do I need? And 2, I'm going to make a ball, but then I'm going to shape it into a half ball. So I'm not gonna make the whole thing round. So this feels pretty good. You can see that I'm pressing on it and it's not totally flattening out all the way to the foam. And it's this big lumpy funky size. So I'm gonna roll it one more time so that it's just a little more rounded and even. And this is all we do. You start with a little roll like a sausage, then you alternate it and roll it and alternate it and roll it, always just scooping in the edges. Sorry for if y'all hear a little bit of clacking. We're getting a big delivery. That's always fun. We like big deliveries. Okay, so this looks messy and funky. If you can hang on to it for just a second, then what I'm going to do is tack down these first loose ends, and it is kind of a big, lofty, funky ball. I'm going to needle felt, just tack down the loose bits. And then we're going to start needle felting into what will be the underneath side of the mushroom cap. Let's see, we're going to just start needle felting straight in here a little bit. Remember, when you're needle felting, as you're poking the wool, you're making it more dense in that area too. So sometimes the reason your things are maybe seem hollow in some spots is you had it big and lofty and airy like this, and you didn't take the time to condense the fiber and make it more dense in its core. Does that make sense? Did that come out right? I don't know if I've ever really said that before, but okay, so this is still big and funky, but this is what I want. I want it just kind of firm, like let's say like a little baked potato, right? It's kind of a baked potato inside a little bit. And now I'm going to start just shaping all of this into a round shape. And what I'm going to do is make it round so that it comes down and meets the foam pretty much. I'm going to make a little dome. So I'm gonna work on this round and round, and you're gonna work your way all the way around it. Ask me a question, so I can just keep poking. Anne's reading.
Looks like we're getting some new questions. Do you ever worry, Lana asks, do you ever worry at all about creating the mushroom gills, or do you just leave them without?
We're gonna deal with that next time. Next time we're gonna make mushroom gills, and it's really up to you. And you know, I'd really love to see a variety of ways people would like to make them. On this tutorial, we show a fun way to make them with your own, sort of your own fiber that you kind of loosely twist into a yarn. Even though this one doesn't have it, we made a whole bunch in that video, and they're all kind of put away right now pending our move. So we have one example there, and then I'm gonna bring some more next week. But now we're just working on naked mushroom. What else you got?
Wendy asks, are you still using a coarse needle?
I am. I'm still using a 36 triangle because I am pushing through a lot of fiber, and I'm basically, in this case, I started with a lofty piece on purpose so that I could just get to this big dome shape kind of rather quickly. And then I'm going to switch. But for the moment, I am. I'm interested to see what some people use their mushrooms for, what they do with them. Maybe they make a pincushion, you know, maybe a little nature table, who knows. I'm gonna go back into the bottom. It's gonna really help you if you treat the whole piece. Treat the whole piece, don't just stay in one area. I'm gonna go back to, I'm actually just going even directly into the sides, because everywhere it's loose, you're gonna wanna poke it. Don't worry about losing a shape. I think so often when I see something underfelted, someone was worried about losing the shape. Better have it firm and add more fiber on top to get the shape that you're going after than to have it underfelted, which will just make it come apart over time. And people actually always ask us too about cleaning their pieces. And what I find is that a piece that is more underfelted has more loose and wispy bits that grab onto dust in the air, just like spider webs do. You know, when you see that dust hanging across a corner of a room, it's that spider web up there just gathering dust. It's easier to clean it when it's firm, because then you could just bang it or dust it or whatever. So
Jill asks, is next Woolly Wednesday a follow-up on today?
yes, next Woolly Wednesday, we're gonna follow up on today. So we're gonna make our dome until it's pretty much like we want it. And this is just one way. Now next, this is just one way to make the under mushroom. You can watch the other video that we have, and you can even combine the two, which I did on another mushroom. Oh, I didn't bring him out, Anne. Where's my other one? Where's my rainbow mushroom?
It was on the side. Did it fall off?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Where to find, I knew that I brought something else to show y'all. Oh, thank you. Okay, so here's another one. Look how close can I get? Here's another mushroom that I was working on, and this one combines today's method with something I'll show you, with also what we did on this video too, which is to build up a little more of a shape to the top of your mushroom and then apply the top. So it's kind of a combination. And he's actually pretty heavy, but he's just chenille stem also, actually, and wool.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, this one's not finished. We're going to turn this one into a little fairy house next time. Yes?
Sarah asked, is this method how you made the top for your fairy house?
No. So this one we're doing today is how I did this one, and I've definitely been playing with some different ideas, but we're going to combine the method that I made for the fairy house and today's method next time, because I think the two together are a little better than what I did on the fairy house. You need something, when you put the top on, you kind of need something to put it onto. You know what I'm saying? When you put the top color on, it helps to have something to put it onto. And you can either make that like a great big plate, or you can apply it directly to the shape in layers, whatever. Okay.
Brenda asks, I've heard that when something is felted very firm, it's difficult to add more wool on top. Is that true?
Well, not necessarily true, no. felt makers, like look at Megan Neds. Megan Neds, if y'all don't know her, of the Woolen Wagon, she uses a lot of our fibers, especially our MC1 fibers in her work. She makes realistic animal sculptures. We've had her here, 3 times to teach her classes? And Megan Neds needle felts rock hard. And she'll make her underbodies of her animals rock hard, and then apply all of that brilliant, gorgeous detail of colors that you see on top. So when you're needle felting, I would say what you find is that the firmer the underneath is, the smoother your outer coat can be. Coat, top, layer, whatever, the smoother it can be. So this is still kind of lumpy, and I would keep working on it, but let me show you what we're going to do now and how we're going to move this piece along. This is just one method. So I brought my little scissors, and what we're going to do is cut right into the bottom of this, and I'm going to cut a little X. My scissors don't like to cut it, but they will. You just kind of have to inch your way along, and we're going to cut out a little X out of the bottom, or a cross, if you will. Cut out a little cross, and go slow so that you don't get all the way to the top. Now you can make this more firm than I've made mine. We always kind of rush things on the show a little bit. This is for when you're sitting down watching your favorite movie or your favorite show or listening to your favorite podcast, and you just want a little you time. So then we're going to open that up once you get to it and put it on here.
Our felting friends want to know, how deep do you need to cut?
I'm cutting it pretty deep. I mean, you want to get it on there and stable. And so look that's how far my needle is, my scissors are buried. So I'm in there pretty good, at least a 1/2 inch. But play with yours. Y'all will find out pretty soon I'm not a scientist. I'm kind of like find your way there. So now what I want to be able to do is put this in there. I want to be able to put it on there so that I like it. And I can already tell you that I'm probably going to make it bigger, but maybe not. So here's what we do. We take these little flanges whatever's like a little flange, we're going to needle felt these up to the base, and then we're also going to needle felt the base down to it. So pull it on there like you're putting it on like a little boot, you know what I mean? Pull it up so that it's on there, and then just needle felt right into it. Don't break your needle on your wire. Watch out for your wire, but go around. You'll see real quickly that it's your coarse needles that are great connectors. You don't want to use your wimpy needles on this, not your finishing needles. You want to use your coarse needles.
Amy asks, what would you do if you accidentally cut too far into it?
Oh, I would just pile wool on top, for sure. I would just pile more wool on top. So here, I'm needle felting this into the stem. Now you're going to needle felt the stem into the cap. Just needle felt straight down that length there. Straight down. And connect it. And this is going to be we're going to add more wool, and you're going to add more when you do the gills. But get a really good connection going now, and you can even needle felt right through the top.
Devin asked, do you always attach the stem and top before adding color?
No, I don't, but I'm trying to share methods that I think are more supportive of getting a little better design. Like, I don't usually decorate a whole cap and then attach it, because you want your cap to be smooth and finished and not show a bunch of needle marks. So I am going to want to get that on there before I'm finished designing the top. That's really helpful. Like this, I've been applying a lot of the color when it's on the mushroom. So this is just one method. You're welcome to look at this little method too. And gosh, there's so many methods. So this is just a way. Let's just call this a way to work it. Now, the thing I want to encourage you to do is really go around your mushroom, and you can add more wool to the cap if you want to, but I want to encourage you to spend time shaping it and firming it up. Maybe needle felt in places that you wouldn't think you would needle felt, so that you really get a firm under sculpture to work on. And you know, even if you use different methods, your own methods, somebody else's method, a combination of methods, my encouragement this week is to have fun. Let your felting be also an exercise in sort of patience. Let it be for your enjoyment rather than a rush, you know, to post something finished online. And let it be a learning process too, so that you really start to get a better command of the fiber. So I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to jump over to this guy, and I might want to just zoom in a little bit if we can. I know we're a little bit far away. This guy was worked, well, I don't know, just a couple of hours on this guy I've worked. So Anne's going to zoom us in a little bit. I've worked on this guy a couple of hours. I don't have a lot of time to needle felt at night right now because I'm working on a really big project. So I usually break things down into like really simple little increments. This is still lumpy. This is going to get covered in white wool and other colors and stuff. But what I want to draw your attention to are the edges. And I want to encourage you, let me see if I can turn it a couple different angles. I want to encourage you to get really intimate with your pieces. And let's see, I'm going to grab a single 42. When I'm working on a piece like this, if you can see that this here is still loose, like if I push on it, does that show up on your screen that it's still not really unsing? I want to see if I can get an angle. Can you see if I push on that like it's kind of loose? Does it show that this is kind of loose and mushy? What if I do it like this? Can you see that it's kind of mushy and loose? Any thumb, you can tell that it's kind of a little bit loose? And saying a little bit,
not showing up super well.
Yeah, I want to kind of show you that this side is kind of firm, and this side is a little bit loose and still wispy. Like I could pull it off if I wanted to, because it's still not felted all the way. Whereas this side over here is a lot more firm. Like I can grab onto it. And this is where I want to encourage you to take a fine needle or a medium fine needle and just go around your entire mushroom and needle felt it at angles maybe that you haven't done before. You don't have to use your coarse needles here. You can use your fine needles and really feel what it feels like to spend time needle felting a piece with refinement in the final stages, and just sculpt it. And if this needle doesn't feel satisfying, well then go up one to one that is a little more coarse. But I want to encourage you to really work on your underpiece without color and get it shaped and firmed and maybe even smooth. You don't have to make it rock hard, but make it fairly firm and fairly smooth without even worrying about the design yet. And I think that that's going to be a really strong building block to making good needle felted sculptures. So get everything so that it's holding up well, and then it's going to, meaning not loose and you can't tear it apart, and then it's going to really be ready for the color that you want to add. There are so many inspiring mushrooms on our page. Oh, I wish I could think of everybody's. Woo Hoford, her name is also Bonnie, recently posted a really adorable one attached to wood. There's some really great, I even saw another one today and I forgot already. And our friend Jenny Cavarnes Doyle recently posted, we can zoom out a little bit, a really beautiful mushroom, and that's on our Instagram page. It's a fairy house also. So I hope that you'll find inspiration from some other people's pieces or some real life mushrooms as well, and maybe bring a bit of fungus trivia with you next time we get together. But spend time on your under mushrooms. You can watch this video on our YouTube channel, Needle Felting Mushrooms, and we're going to make a little fairy house. I'm going to show you how to add color, and we're going to add some fairy house in detail on ours next time, and I'll show you how to get color on your cap too. And so we're going to turn up the cameras and we're going to give away some prizes, y'all. Today's lesson was in slow felting, so not a real quick turnaround with a bunch of big bang results at the end, but we hope that you'll take your time, make yours. The fairies are coming back because they want to give away some prizes. Have y'all just been hanging out under the toadstools?
Exactly.
Counting butterflies and such. Oh, Ann, now Ann's got our prizes. Let's put Ann in the middle for a second,
Yes.
because Ann, you brought all our prizes. Tell us
You have
what
the
our
good
prizes
stuff.
are today.
Alrighty, so prize number 1 is a 12-inch by 12-inch felting foam with 3 packs of needles. We've got the coarse needles, fine needles, and some good in-the-middle needles.
In the
Also
middle.
known as 38 stars. I totally didn't just forget which needles those were.
Okay, so this is prize number 1. So you get to choose your prize today. If your name is drawn, of anybody whose name went in our magic bowl, which means you commented, you asked a question, or made Anne smile in some way, your name went in the bowl. So this is, you could choose prize number 1, or
Prize number 2 is a super variety pack, which is going to have 1 pack of every needles, and so it's going to have 30 needles total.
1 3-pack of every kind of needle we carry. Super variety pack number 2.
Prize number 3, 4-ounce roll of our core wool, and an MC1 goodie bag.
Woo, those are fun. Okay, so prize 1, 2, or 3. All right, let's draw some names.
All right, Holly, you want to go first?
Sure. Lori Honey McComb?
Honey McCombie.
Yay, Lori! So, Lori, you just email us or call us and let us know which prize you want, 1, 2, or 3. Let's draw another name.
Go for it, Ann.
Alrighty. Nessa Ann Bentley.
Yay, Nessa! All right, I'm hearting everybody. One more.
I'm gonna hold it.
Yes.
All right, and last but not least, we've got Bev Wiggins.
Yay, Bev! So that was Nessa, Bev, and Lori.
Yes.
Right? All right.
Yep.
Congratulations, gals. Thank you so much for felting with us today. We hope that you'll have a little slow felt this week, whatever it is. Learn something new, have fun, and just do something good for yourself because you deserve it. Thank you. Have a great day.